Hey guys, it's Tommy here and welcome back to my channel. Today's episode is going to be quite a busy one. First of all, I just wanted to show you what I'd done. If you followed on from the last episode, I had to adjust the gondola layout to make sure that the supports didn't kind of go straight through the go-kart track. So they don't quite go in the straight line that they were going in before, but it does give them a nice little overview of the go-kart track. This was the easiest way to kind of overcome it, and that is the only minor issue I've got there, is that there's a little support on the tyres there, but I suppose if they're going to be going over that way, they'll crash into the tyres first. But yeah, other than that, that is the only, that's the only kind of route I had out of the issue. And I'm fairly happy with how that's come out. It did take me a good time to figure out. Decided in the end there's a little gap over on this side of the park, so I wanted to try and fit in a flat ride, and I was trying to work out the best way to fit it in, and decided to fit it, or to kind of rotate it and fit it in lengthways like this. Wanted to just keep the theming for this one simple. It is between the vintage carousel and the teacup, so I wanted to kind of go with a similar sort of simple theme in terms of, in terms of the scenery. So yeah, I've decided, it's only going to be bushes and landscaping around there, so nothing too drastic. And then I'll just kind of continue with the fencing around there, because I think this sort of white picket fencing really does add to to the paths, as you can see there. And then just around the edge of the ride itself, I wanted to put in this sort of, the sort of hedge fencing that I have done on the other rides. And then this last little gap here, because it was right on the edge of the park, you can see the white dotted line there. It was being a right nuisance to try and join up, but eventually persistence paid off, and I did eventually get there in the end. So yeah, that is what I'm going to be calling red arrows, this ride. And then any gap in between the paths like this, I just wanted to fill with with a few bushes, just to add a bit of colour and a bit of sort of character to the area. And then the gap between here was just perfect for this petunia bush. So yeah, that's what I opted for here. And then other than that, it's just a case of putting up a bit of signage, really. So the ride is now open for the guests who want to wander over this section. So here I'm just kind of working out the best tactic to go for, really, in terms of the signage, because you can just go and stick a panel on somewhere, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to have sort of like metal beams as uprights, and have like a metal frame to the signage, so that it just kind of stood out a little bit. And as I say, that because they're planes on there, and because this is going to be like your typical British carnival / Funfair park, wanted to call it the red arrows. So yeah, that's what I'm going for, this sort of red and yellow theme. And yeah, I thought this sign kind of stood out quite well. And yeah, I'm quite happy that it was the perfect fit for that gap. I think there wasn't much else I could have really done there. Now, my main project for this episode is to put in one of these Wendigo coasters, which is just like a junior, a small junior family track. The idea behind this is it's not going to be a massive track at all. It's not going to be a very thrilling ride. It is literally in there for kids and families to enjoy. It is going to have 2 laps, because a lot of the time these sort of trains do, or these sorts of coasters do have 2 laps around them. But as you can see, I mean, there's, for some reason, I don't quite know why, but the Wendigo as standard comes with like 16 rows on it, which I think just looks a bit too long, regardless of what sort of track you're doing with it. But yeah, the idea for here, as you can see, nothing too crazy. It is just going to be a few drops, a few turns, a few kind of helixes going back on itself, and then back to the station. So that is pretty much the layout. Just here, I wasn't happy with how slow it went over that last drop, so what I decided to do in the end is just kind of go back here and just adjust the height of this. I took off the angle snap because that way I could get it not quite as high. Yeah, when I tested it for a second time, it did go over a lot, sort of I'm not going to say a lot quicker, but it went over faster than just kind of just feeling like it was only just going over. And because it's on 2 laps, I didn't want to, I didn't want it going too slow at that end. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Quite happy with that layout. A lot of this, to be fair, is going to be themed to make it look more impressive. I know at the minute it does look quite bland, but that will all come to fruition soon. So yeah, here I just wanted to kind of mix up the entrance and exit. So I wanted the entrance to go in front of the station, and the exit at the moment was blocking that. Here, like I say, a lot of the queue lines in this park are going to be your sort of cattle pen style, back and forth. I did start building this, and I realised that the queue line was sort of still slightly in the air, so I wasn't quite happy with that. So yeah, in the end, started to just readjust it to go back and forth on itself here, and I think that layout works quite well, to be fair. And then I've just had to put the exit queue line down. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously the third coaster going in, and I wanted to have a coaster that this isn't something I'd normally put in one of my normal parks, just because it's not really a coaster that kind of excites me as much. But it serves its purpose in this park. It is a family-friendly option, and I think it is a nice little addition to the back of the park. Now, the theme that I'm going for here is just kind of a red, yellow and green style coaster. As you could probably see from the results there, I mean, the excitement rating on this is like 2.6 or something. It is really not massively exciting, but it is what it is. People will still go on it, but it is aimed for the younger crowd. It's going to be called the Worm, which you can see I'm just putting the lights in here for, and yeah, I'm trying to keep it as simple and straightforward as possible, but trying to make it and trying to sort of jazz it up a little bit, just so it doesn't look quite so plain. So yeah, here I'm just kind of building the station. Now, my idea for this station was to have a sort of half station building, if that makes sense. So what I'll end up doing is putting where it says the Worm and the signage and the train track under cover, and the rest of it out in the open. So it's sort of like it almost looks like it's in a bit of like a half shed, really, which you will see here. That wood didn't match the panels at the bottom here, so I just wanted to make sure I got that right, really. Which is just what I'm putting in now. So I'm just putting in some more sort of archways so that the train can travel through. And here at this point, just putting the kind of finishing touches really to the building. I was debating whether to put a small rectangular piece there, but then I decided to just opt for this sort of archway here, because that seemed to fit much better. This is what I mean by the sort of half station building type shape that I'm going for. Or it does almost look like a bit of an outhouse, but I do actually quite like it. It does stand out a bit different to the rest of the rides that I've built currently, and that's what I kind of want from this park, is to just kind of have a go at different designs, so that when it comes to parks in the future that I can build, I've got something to sort of look back and think, yeah, I'll go for this sort of style this time. And I think it works quite well. So here I'm just putting these the flashing lights on again, similar to the fairy lights that I've put elsewhere in the park, but this time I'm just sticking with the red and yellow theme, as I've done throughout this ride, really. So yeah, everything's going to be themed. One thing I am planning on doing, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen one of these sort of coasters before. I know there's one at Skegness Pier Beach, and they tend to have, because it's a caterpillar or worm or etc., they tend to have sort of like a giant apple or something to go through. Now, I did attempt to make one, and you will see it. You will see what goes in. I will pre-warn you now, it's not the greatest apple you'll ever see. But I'm quite pleased. I'm quite pleased with it, because I think it does look quite realistic. So you'll see that coming up. Here I'm just finishing off the fencing around the edge of the park. Because it's a coaster, I wanted to have a bit more height to the fencing, a bit more security. And I had this small rectangular section here, and I could have fenced it off and put something else in, but I decided to have a bit bit of a path, and I'll put like a few benches down as a bit of a seating area if people want to sit down there. If they've got families going on the rides and they don't want to go on, they can obviously sit down there, and they don't have to go on. They can spectate them from down below. So yeah, I decided to do that, and then just took this white fencing along to the station, and then from there I'll put the planting in. Here is the apple. I appreciate it isn't the greatest apple you will ever see. However, I was trying to just start using these shapes. I've not used the shapes as much as I probably should. I've seen a lot of creators online using the shapes more and utilizing them more. So I was just kind of getting used to having a playing about with them and seeing what I could do with them. So I thought this apple was the best way to have a go at doing that, which is what I'm going for here. Just decided to add a couple of leaves on the top, obviously, because otherwise it would just look like a green square. Hopefully this makes it look a little bit more like an apple, but please let me know below on a rating of 1 to 10 how good you think this apple is, because yeah, I would be struggling to give it more than a 4, but I'm happy with it, and that's all that matters. And then I decided to put a bit of a wooden post in there as a bit of a stalk for the apple, just to make it a little bit more realistic. Realised here that it wasn't quite tall enough for the train to be able to pass through. So what I had to do then was just drop it back down. I needed to raise the roof of the apple a little bit, and then I just needed to extend the walls slightly so that the train has got enough height to go through. The width is fine. Before I'd put the roof on, I had lined up the width just to make sure that I didn't need to make the base any wider, and it did. So yeah, I was quite happy with that. And here I'm just kind of, as I say, I'm just kind of getting the shape right for it. And yeah, it's just one of these weird bits of decoration that I think just adds to the ride a little bit, really. So here you can see I'm just lining it up, and I've just got it spot on. So yeah, that was the apple going on to the ride, and here we've just got some fencing for the queue line. I wanted it's sort of like half the height of the metal railing fencing going around, so I wanted it just to match. And then in the gaps around here and in the seating area, I've just got some bushes going in just to add a bit of colour, a bit of scenery, and a bit of decoration. I mean, anyone who's followed any of the other episodes, this sort of style has worked so far throughout the park, and yeah, it does continue to work in terms of how simple it is, and how much the different colours and patterns really work on the trees and bringing a bit of character out to the park, really. So yeah, just here I've just got some different, like I say, different bushes just going in, all doing different bits and bobs, and it's one of these things you could spend ages designing, landscaping, and if I was going for a more detailed park I probably would, but I think for this park and the purpose it serves, I think this does the job quite well, in all honesty. So yeah, I think we've got plenty of colour going around there. It's just a case now of putting some trees and putting some decoration around the track itself. I didn't want to overcrowd the train as such, but I did want to put some sort of planting in there so you feel like you're away from the station on a bit of a journey. So yeah, that's what I've gone with there. Just a few different autumn style trees, and then I wanted to use these vintage archways that I've used them in the exits on some of the rides. Now the plan here was to kind of have just a couple at the entrance and a couple at the exit. Just to, again, no real purpose, just to light it up, just to add that tad more bit of decoration, and I think it works quite well. Here I wanted to have a bit of another section of building for the train to go through. Figured this little drop here was probably the best section for it, so decided to have like I say, use the wooden scaffolding base, and I've got the two walls there, and I'll put a bit of a roof tower on it, and then decorate it to match as such. So yeah, again, it's just another element to the ride. It doesn't add anything particularly, but it just adds. It doesn't add anything specific, is what I mean. But it just gives that extra bit of theming, that extra bit of decoration, and I think it looks quite nice, to be fair. So yeah, really happy with how this has turned out. I did look at putting a roof canopy over the queue line like I have done elsewhere. Now, I started to do this, and I ended up building the entire thing, and you'll see now. I have a look at guest level to see what it looks like, and I don't like the fact that they can't see the station from the path. So I decided to just get rid of it in the end, because I think the open queue line actually works better on this station. So yeah, I mean, you know, like I say, it was kind of I was on and ahhing about it, but I decided to go for that. So yeah, I think now's the time to have a bit of a test ride on the worm. So yeah, here we go, enjoy. And there we go, a nice thrilling ride on the worm there. I hope you have enjoyed that episode. That quite a lot gone into the park there that I'm quite pleased with. I do like the I do like the way I've kind of decorated that, and I'm quite pleased with it. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you are new. There's plenty more to come up. And other than that, I shall see you in the next episode. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.